Okay, so maybe you were on a total roll with those y equals mx plus b graph, and any equation of the line, you can graph it using the slope-intercept form. And then you come to a slump in the wall called x equals 2. And your book tells you to graph this equation. Oh no, it's not into y equals mx plus b form, and I have no idea how to do that. Well, you can look at it like this. Pretend there's a 0y plus x equals 2. Okay? And let's just use a table of values. See, when x equals 2, it's going to look something like this. Let's plug in y equals 1, -2, 5, and just for safe measure, 358. Okay? Whatever you plug in, y still times by 0. So even if you multiply by 358, it's still 0y, which means x will always be 2. So, let's go ahead and see. When you put in y, it's still times 0, so x still equals 2. Plug in -2, x will still equal 2. When you plug in 5, x will still equal 2. Why? Because it's all multiplied by that 0. So, x will always be 2. If we have to graph all these points, let's go ahead and take a look. X equals 2, 0 comma y is right there, 0 comma 2 comma 1 is right there, 2 comma -2 is right there, 2 comma 5 is right there, and let's say 2 comma 358 is somewhere way up there. Either way, what do you notice about these lines? These points are all part of this line right here. Right? No matter what you plug in, it will all fall in this line. Thus, the graph of x equals 2 simply looks something like this. That's all it is. It's a straight vertical line. Now this is also known as an undefined slope. Don't let that intimidate you. See, we're going to go back to slope is rise over run, and the rise is infinite, it rises 2, rises 5, rises 5,000, rise is a number, but the run, it doesn't go left or right at all, it just stays at 0. And anything over 0 is undefined, which is also why the x equals a number graph, or a vertical line, is also known as the undefined slope line. Now, let's look at a y equals graph. After you understand the x equals graph, the y equals graph should be a lot easier to understand. So let's say y equals -3. So, same thing. 0x plus y equals -3. Let's plug in x as 1, 2, -3, 5,000, negative 9,000. Okay? Now, when you plug it in, when you plug in 1 for x, it's still times 0, so y still equals -3. When you plug in 2, still times 0, so it's 2 comma -3. When you plug in -3, still times 0, so y still equals -3, 2 comma -3, -9,000. So it's somewhere over here, -9,000, still times 0. These are all going to be points on the line. No matter what you plug in, it will be on this part of the line, this straight horizontal line right here. So if you have to graph y, if you have to graph y equals -3, simply just look something like this. This is a horizontal line. Let's take a look at this slope. for rise over run, it doesn't rise at all, but it runs infinitely. It runs any number that you want. 0 over any number is 0. So the slope of a y equals graph is always 0. The slope of an x equals graph is undefined. And this is what happens when you try to graph an x equals and a y equals graph.